everyone, and welcome to this new live session on MediaMaster. Today we are going to see fixture advanced control with a grandMA and surface control as well. Few things that I have to tell you before we start. All of you that following us every week, MediaMaster, you can download it for free, available on Mac and Windows. I hope that all is fine because my preview in the live is funky. On Mac and Windows, you can install it on your laptop, MacBook, Windows, whatever. You don't need any license to test or to try what we are going to do today. Leo, which is with me, is using a grandMA, so you can also try with a grandMA software. Just to let you know that if you have MA on PC, you need to have hardware of MA to unlock parameters of control, so keep that in mind. But you can run the grandMA software and MediaMaster on the same computer, that's not issue. So if you have a Node at home or Wing, command Wing, you can try grandMA. If you want to try on another lighting desk, chassis of whatever, there is other rules there that I don't know, but anything that we are going to do today on the grandMA desk, you can of course do it on any other lighting desk, Evolite, Shamsis, you name it. A few things that I have still to tell you today and remind you that we are supporting any tribute to our healthcare workers that you might do these days. So if you like to contribute to spread maybe some nice messages to our healthcare workers around the world, like having a small mapping, as we can see here from my friends from Florida, Max, nice mapping or anything that you like to put together. We will be very pleased to help you with maybe a temporary license on GrandVJ, on MediaMaster, or whatever you like to use today. You like to use for that event. So contact us at this address, which is contact at ArKaos.net. I don't see the address right here right now, so contact at ArKaos.net. There we go. Contact at ArKaos.net, and feel free to send us a small email explaining what you like to do, send you some picture, and we'll be very pleased to help. Also, something that I like to remember you guys right now, we do have a great discount on the web shop on every upgrade GrandVJ MediaMaster backup license. So if you own MediaMaster Express and you like to use the video mapper as we are going to use today, you can upgrade to Pro version, and I think there is for now today a discount of 50% on the web shop. So if you like to upgrade, that's the good time to do it now. We will have a small Q&A session after the live. ArKaos team and myself will monitor the live during the session as well, the chat. So if you have some small questions, feel free to put some small questions there. Also, some new topic of training of live sessions. Drop you comment in the chat. The next session next week will be on GrandVJ and CleanNet and ArtNet Mapper. And the one after that will be again on MediaMaster, and there we are going to see the whole video mapper this time. So here we go, let's start with the session. I'm gonna now switch to Leo, and we're gonna start right now. Thank you very much.
Hello everybody, good afternoon. So my name is Leonard Maté. And this session will be advancing from what we did on previous session, meaning we will use the grandMA to control a few surfaces in MediaMaster in fixture mode. First, we're going to start. I'm going to close. We have two windows here. We see the window of ArKaos, this window. We see the window of grandMA, and in the bottom left corner where the video is playing right now, this will be our virtual output. First of all, I will go to grandMA and we shut down the video that was playing during the introduction, and I first explain what I'm going to do in grandMA. I will go to my patch and fixture schedule, and here I'm going to patch my ArKaos layers as we did last time in our basic setup. For this afternoon, I patched 8 layers. Just as a small example, I'm going to show you what the setup will be. It's a virtual setup. It's not based on anything in real life. And I chose to patch 8 layers in extended 1.0. As discussed last time, this is the only way where you can have the complete ArKaos. Every parameter that you see in here can be controlled via the
DMX. There is also layer extend 1.1. The big difference between the extend 1.1 and the extend 1.0 is the the new playback modes and some blending modes that are only reachable through the 1.1 extend.
Yep. Again, if you don't have a super large setup or you're not doing any complicated things, you can always choose a different mode, but I prefer to use the extended mode because then I have all my parameters by my side. I have already patched surfaces and LED bars, but this will be discussed later. First of all, I'm going to show you the setup that I have in ArKaos. So I'm going to switch and I will be opening the video mapper. In this video mapper, I already prepped the session of this afternoon. This is the output, the video output we'll be using. This is a draft display for the other part of today's session. And what I already made, I first open a test card. If you look at the setup, this is a surface we don't need anymore. I only used it for the introduction video. And what I made is a small setup where we have one screen in the left bottom, a screen in the center, and a screen at the top. This is just a virtual setup, something I made up. This is maybe a corporate event or a festival or whatever. Nothing special to do about it. And I made 6 surfaces in total with 2 different functions. I will close all of them and shortly explain them. So we have surface 1, the left corner, in full, meaning I took this physical output. The LED screen is 600 by 600 pixels. And I took the same aspect ratio and made it as large as possible to have it for my video output. And then I also made one mapped where we have the same output
with another cropping value, yeah,
with
another
totally
input.
Different cropping value to just give myself some flexibility while programming. And I made these for all of the physical outputs, meaning I have a physical output, 1 full, 1 mapped, center full, center mapped, and 2 full, 2 mapped. Meaning, if we see the 3 mapped surfaces, that the image will be displayed correctly, and we can put one large image on all 3 surfaces, but the correct distances and spacings.
Yeah, and the ratio is correct.
Will be used. Yes. So this is for the first part. We're just going to use these 6 layers. And these were already set up. Then I will quickly go through my output management. And as said before, I'm always using the group outputs. I never use the surface outputs here. I always do it in a group, because the advantage when you do it in a group, you can always change the surfaces that are in the group, or you can always adjust it and replace stuff. And that's why I made screen 1 mapped. There's only 1 surface inside. The center mapped, screen 2 mapped, screen 1 full, center full, screen 2 full. All screens mapped. This is a compilation of these 3, and all screens full is a compilation of these 3. So I'm quickly showing you that in screen 1 mapped, you can see that 1 mapped is used. These are the other surfaces that were in my draft display, and this is for the next thing I'm going to explain during the same session, but this is just already preparation. So now we're only looking at 1 mapped. Screen 2 mapped is only this one, and then center mapped, and the same for full 1 center, or the second one. We're going to close this. My setup and my communication in between GrandMA and ArKaos is already made. So I already prepped this session, and what I'm going to use, we're handling things in 3 levels today. And first of all, I'm going to explain a basic level of VJing of programming, where we just take one layer. I'm sorry, I'm going to, because I already prepped a few things. This is my page number 1, I'm sorry, where we just take one layer and we open the dimmer and we put it on a fader. I'm going to clear for just a second. If we have this layer and I choose any kind of content, you will see in the left bottom corner that all the content will display on that point. If I look which surfaces I'm using, now I'm outputting to all outputs, but that's nothing. I don't want to just put it on all outputs. I want it on all the screen mapped. So I can choose between all screens full or all screens mapped. This is the output
the two
grouping,
groups that you made,
output group that I made. I can also choose to do it only to one surface, the center surface or the second surface mapped, or I can do it on one full, center full, screen 2 full.
And each time the content have the same ratio as the input parameters that you have set at the beginning. Yeah.
When we want to start VJing with this setup, we can take a second layer and we can choose a different video and also send it to the same layers. And because of the layer behavior, this will be on top of it. And then we can say, no, I want to add it to the other layers, and we can simply start VJing with this setup. This is a pretty basic setup to start VJing. I'm only using 2 layers, but also I'm just taking one layer, sending it to my LED screens, doing nothing special with it. Meaning that
maybe if we select layer 2, we can show that layer 2 is now in copy mode addition. Yeah. So that's why you can see both on top of each other, because by default layer 2 is on top of 1, so you would normally see only layer 2 on the output.
Yes. So if you want to VJ with this setup, we can have our first layer with the background, and then a second VJ layer where we can overlay. We can do different content and stuff like that. But meaning, if we want to make this a little bit more dynamic, so I'll do quick clear. If we want to make this a little bit more dynamic, and we choose any content, I'll take the triangle tunnel. If you want to say, yeah, we want to have this in a chase mode, I can say we're going to this surface, then to this surface, then to this surface, and make a chase out of it. And that's what I already made here as a layer chase. And then when I toggle this one, the only thing that will happen, I'm going to open content and quickly store the content. So what's happening now is that we see the layer, or the
output index.
The video will snap from 1 to center to 2.
You can maybe select the layer 1 again.
I will show you in the GUI of ArKaos. I lost my mouse. In the GUI of ArKaos, you can see the output screen here, and this will make a chase from the first surface to the center to the second one.
Yeah, indeed.
The only possible way in ArKaos at this moment, also when I select this layer, you see here in the video output that I will make a chase out of it. It is impossible for ArKaos to make any fade from one surface to the other.
It has to snap. Yeah.
It's a snap function, and this will happen. You can make some cool things out of it when you upgrade the speed. If you maybe change the content. This is just on my content, so you can see the 3 different surfaces. And let's say we don't want to have a structural order, but I choose a random order.
That's a basic chase that you can set very quickly in like a chasing between dimmers or things like that.
So what I now did is just made a basic chase going from one surface to the other and made it random. So we can start approaching a little bit like a strobe, and then if we have a second layer with some different content, you can see that the the first layer is strobing and chasing different surfaces.
Mhm.
This is a cool effect. This is a pretty quick effect. This is a simple chase, but you're not super flexible. It is impossible to divide control over different surfaces, and it only snaps from one surface
Yeah.
to the other. And that's why I started changing my progress and started programming the way I'm going to show you now in a second level. So first of all, I'm just going to
So
close.
there is the quick and dirty
Yeah.
effect that
Yeah.
you can have pretty much.
I'm going to switch everything off, and I'm going to clear my programmer, and I'm going to a second view. This is the same view as you see here in front, but I just made it a little bit, I added a few things and going to show you the flexibility that I created. And I already prepped this project on page 2. So when we're on this page, you can see I made the same dimmer value. What's underneath here is only the dimmer value of that VJ layer. But what I now did, I didn't took one layer and send it to all the surfaces. I took 3 layers. So I have VJ1, 2, and 3. So I have, sorry, VJ 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. I made it into a group. And I'm going to, I theoretically made one layer out of 3 layers. So I'm going to VJ with this group, and I'm going to VJ with this group. Then I'm programming it as it is if one layer, but I'm controlling 3 layers.
Mhm. Okay.
So when we have things like that, I'm going to open up some content. Here is my dimmer of this one. And now, if you see at the first layer in ArKaos, I'm switching to ArKaos. When you have the first layer, this is the first one is going to screen 1 mapped. The second one is going to center mapped, and the third one is going to screen 2 mapped. When I use these channels together, when I take the dimmer value of these 3, this looks like it's just one layer. It is the same as I showed you on the first level, but meaning that the first layer is controlling the left bottom surface, the second layer is controlling the second, and the third layer is the upper right corner. Meaning that because we use 3 different layers, we can start making effects with it. So when I just made a simple dimmer effect, I select VJ1, 2, and 3. I go to a dimmer value. I take a parameter. I will delete this just to show you how it's done. I open a new effect. I take the dimmer. And these are the 3 layers that are inside. When I start this effect, now you see that I'm using the first layer. When you look at the ArKaos GUI, I'm using the first layer up and down, the second layer up and down, and the third one up and down. And you can see that we have the same chase that we made 10 minutes ago, but now we did it on a level of dimmer and not on a surface level.
Yeah.
We have the ability that we can crossfade from one layer to the other, and we have the ability to do so many things more, and it won't snap. If I want it to snap, I can always chase the form and make it a chase, and then we have the same as we had in advance. Or I can make totally different values. I can change my effect that it will stay on for a bit longer and stuff like that. So this is just a simple dimmer value with 3 layers because I had 3 different LED walls. If my setup would be bigger, then I would use, like, if my setup would be 4 LED screens, I would take 4 layers as VJ1 and then 5 until 8 as VJ2, and so on and so on. I'm going to clear. This is still the same as we now take VJ2. So this is one fader with the dimmer value, but I took these 3 layers and I opened the dimmer. So I'm just going to show you. This is only the dimmer. Store in here, merge. And this is my second VJ layer, VJ
Group.
my use of
Yeah,
VJing, and this is the same as I had 10 minutes ago, but also this one, VJ 2.1 is to the screen 1 mapped, VJ 2.2 is to this one, VJ 2.3 is to this one, meaning that if we open up these two, VJ2 is already in addition, meaning that if I have a chase, a dimmer value, and I will put the speed a little bit down. As you see here, we have the 3 VJ layers, 4, 5, and 6, and they are playing the video and they're making the same chase as we had in advance. It's not running super smoothly. I'm going to. Oh, I know what is wrong. My programmation is wrong. This one needs to be to this one. This one needs to be to this one. And now it is correct. Update queue. So what we now have is that if I start a dimmer effect, the same will be done on VJ layer 2. If I start a dim effect on VJ layer 1, we can have this. And now we have already a bit more of flexibility, and we have a more creative way of doing, because now I have a dim effect on 1, 2, 3 for the first content, and 4, 5, 6 for the second content.
But you have to use one layer per surface.
At this point, I'm using one layer per surface. If I would do a TV show, or I do a corporate event, or when I do this setup for VJing, if I have 3, 4, or 5 LED walls, I will dedicate one layer to that surface just to give me this kind of flexibility. This is not only this doesn't only give me flexibility on way of dimmer, but also a lot of extra things. I already prepped these things, so I'm going to close VJ2 just to show you with only one layer. So we have VJ1, and what I want to do is I'm going to put them on center full just for a second. So meaning that we now have a copy of all the 3, but we still have one image, but we still have one layer controlling each surface. So if I put this one to 0, you see that only my first surface will go to 0. So we can still have the dimmer effects as shown here. But now, if I'm in a really creative way, I want to make an earthquake effect. This is a built-in effect of ArKaos, and I just I made these by selecting all my 3 layers. So I do 1, 2, 3. I go to beam.
Can you just select one of the layers so we see what you are doing? Yeah. Yep.
We can see here at the bottom with effects, we can see what we are doing. So I go to effect directory in GrandMA, and I choose the effect that I want, and you will see the effect will pop, because ArKaos has an effect engine for each on each layer. They have one effect engine where you can be creative. The first presets, the first groups are presets. When you start with the custom grouping,
so the same effect, but
you can change the parameters. Like the speed or the size, or
it depends of the effect. But you have 4 parameters of control. If you are looking for an effect in the documentation of MediaMaster, you can find all the effects. So if you can just show where you can find the effect. So if you go help documentation, and it was already open, and at the very end. Yeah, at the very end we do have an effect library. It's the very end. Maybe let's type earthquake. Yeah, indeed, earthquake.
No result. Earth is with an H.
Yeah, and there it's from page 100.
Effects.
151. There you have all the effect list with names, and you can see, as Leo explained, that the first folders are presets of effect. And if you scroll down, then you have the same effect but with parameters. So if you're looking for any effect, just open the library from MediaMaster, go help documentation. There you have the full documentation of MediaMaster with the fixture profile, with any question that you have. That's pretty handy.
So what I did creating this effect, I'm going to show you. It's an earthquake effect. I took my 3 layers and I went to these parameters. So I took an artistic effect and I looked at 20. Seeing when I select layer 1, you can see here the earthquake effect, and this is the way I got it. Meaning, if I have this effect, so I'm VJing, I'm being really cool, I'm running my show, and I run
cool.
I'm running the earthquake effect, but then I say, wow, I have another effect that I want to use. I'm going to use my line effect. And what this is, these are black bars that coming in between. I'll just take a different content to show you a little bit easier. This is another effect in the effect engine. But because every effect engine only has one layer as only one effect engine, yeah. Meaning you can't combine the effects. So the quake effect will be running, and then I overrule it with the line effect, and you say, I can't do the earthquake anymore. I now need to do the line effect. Then when I release the line effect, it will go back again and make an earthquake. Because we're using for each layer is to a dedicated surface, we can make the earthquake effect ourselves. This is just an example, because every layer has its own layer. Every surface has its own layer, meaning that you can start taking parameters that are not in the effect engine, also like colors or like
blending,
the earthquake, position, things
zoom,
like that. Yep.
Playbacks.
Voila, where you can be creative without using your effect engine, meaning that you can still reserve your effect engine for effects like these or effects with inverted strobe and stuff like that. So what I made, I took my 3 VJ layers, 1, 2, 3. I opened up an effect and I added the 3 VJ layers, and I took position X, position Y, position Z. And I made it pretty small. You see it's only an effect from low value -5 to 5, -4 to 4, and this one is -10 to 10. And I made it pretty fast. And what we then create is this effect. And this is a custom-made earthquake effect. And as you can see in ArKaos, this is just an effect where we take all the 3 layers and we do a position and a zoom at the same time. And because we do it with 3 different layers, the effect is never the same. There is still a vibrant as the same effect as the earthquake. But now, because I'm not using my effect engine, you can see here my effect engine is still empty. I'm not using it. I can use my line effect and just start combining stuff like this. So now you can see the earthquake, but you're also seeing the black lines, and you can see in the ArKaos GUI that I'm using the effect strips that is in library 9 effect 7.
So basically there you combine the effect engine of MediaMaster with the effect engine of the light desk.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. So not only the advantage of doing it like this, using it position X, Y, and Z, is the effect engine of ArKaos is very complicated to program when you want to have a fade in or a fade out, meaning you have to activate the effect, shut all the parameters to 0 and fade in. The advantage when we're using the position X, Y, Z, I can make the same earthquake effect but use it as a temp. So the only thing that I'm doing here is I'm activating the same effect as I'm using here. I'm using this effect, and what I did is I had a fade in of 0, but I made a fade out of 0.35. It's one of my favorite numbers. I use it a lot when I'm making when I'm doing blinder effects, and it's just my thingy, meaning that I can also fade in and fade out way easier than using the effect engine. I can do it differently. I can say no, I want a 1 second fade in, and then you can feel the earthquake coming and getting larger,
Yeah,
larger,
so you have
and stop it.
effect fading. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
This is very hard to program while using the effect engine, because you have a lot of parameters to control and stuff like that. When you do it this way, it's a bit easier, because if I have the effect and my director comes to me and say, hey, we like the effect, but we want it to shake a little bit more, I just increase the amount a little bit more. They say we want to have a little bit more pop, so we just make the effect larger and larger, and we can work like that.
Mhm.
If I would say I have an effect that is a fade in of 2 seconds, we can feel the earthquake rising and downscaling, and so on and so on.
What's also, because you are speaking about fading of effect, what's also possible is you could take layer 4, layer number 4, and load just an empty layer with no content and just an effect in it.
Yep.
It's also doable, because as the layer are stacks and the surface are stack, if you send layer 4 with no visual, just an effect, to the same surface where the content is running, there you can fade in and fade out one effect of MediaMaster as well. So there you have to send it to the same surface. Yep, here we go. So there you can see that layer 4 doesn't have any visual playing right now. You can see bottom right, it just have an effect. And there you have you can use a bit the dimmer from the layer as fading in the effect. You cannot fade as Leo did. Leo basically fade the speed or something like that.
Yep.
One of the parameters, you cannot fade easily the parameters, but there you can fade the effect itself, the whole effect.
Yep.
It's also doable. So sometimes we have some operators that dedicate it on their desk, the above layers like 35, 36 with just effect, and they play effect there, and those effects will be applied to every layer that are underneath if you send the effect to the same surface as the layer.
Yep. So this is one example where we can use the position to change the effect of the earthquake. This is the generator of ArKaos. This is the XYZ effect. So we can change things. More advantages or more examples out of it is the tiling. This is a tiling effect that I made. It's just a quick tiling effect. It's nothing special. Where I used the 3 layers. So again, 1, 2, 3. I went to the tiling effect, and I had these 3 layers give a ramp minus on the parameter of tiling, and meaning that you can create some sort of content like this, where the content can follow you or pop to you all the time. We can reverse the effect that everything will pop away from you. And this is again an example, because if you would have used only 1 layer and sent this 1 layer to 3 surfaces, we can only use the tiling in one mode, meaning that the 3 screens together will be tiling, and we can't create any effects as these. Another example that you can use, I will shut down the tiling. If my director wants to have a creative effect and says my DJ is in the center, I want his name in the center, and I want to have the content behind the DJ in black and white, I can choose my layer that is dedicated to the center, in this case VJ 1.2. I can go to color, and I change my saturation to 0. Yeah. And now I can still do all the same things. I can have my earthquake, or I can have my my dimmer values. Oh, I'm sorry. I can have my dimmer values, my running effect, and my dedicated layer in the center is controlled. This is when I'm doing a VJ on a festival or DJ gig, but also when I do corporate or when I do TV shows. Let's say the first and last, so the left and right LED screens are a little bit different, and the director or the shader wants it on a different level, or want to change the colors a little bit.
You can do that directly in the layer.
Yes, you can do it really quickly in the layer and do it queue-based.
Mhm.
You can also start making.
It can depend on visuals,
yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Depending on the visual, you can have a quick way of programming because you're already programming with these 3 layers, and everything is already embedded, and you have made a pretty flexible setup, really comfortable in making everything. And you can be a bit more creative with effects than just when you do a 1-layer effect.
Also, we just saw that when Leo changed the RGB value or the saturation value of the layer, we could saw on the layer preview that the color changed in the layer preview. So this option is not by default enabled. So if you like to have preview of effect into your layers, you can just go preferences, performance, and there the preview style, you change it from media to full. So now we are in full, so we can see in the layers, we can see media playing plus the colors effect or the geometrical effect that you could apply. So now Leo have changed it, and if we select layer 2, we can see that in layer 2 the saturation is at minimum, but the color is at full. That's because the preview style is in media, so we just see the media, we don't see the effect. Of course, running the preview with effect, asking you a bit of more performance, but nowadays should be okay for modern computer.
Yeah, the same as when we're using the line effect. So I'm just going to run the line effect, the effect generator. When this is running, we can see on the outputs that we have the black bars moving, and this is the physical effect that's running. Also, these things will be shown in your GUI when you're running on full. This is voilà. Now we can see this is the behavior of the layer as we're outputting. This is just a personal preference, but as Benjamin just said, it will cost you a little bit of performance on your
it
GUI.
depends. Some person would just like to see preview of the full content. You can also rearrange the layer preview just by right-clicking in the preview. You can arrange the view. So now we have 4:3, but you can have 2:6 or so there. Yeah, you can arrange you can change the arrangement of your layers. So changing the arrangement, showing less layer in the interface will show you bigger layers, of course.
I'm again switching to GrandMA, and I'll just switch everything off for 1 second. We're clear everything. We switched off all running executors. I'm clearing the programmer, and now I'm going back to ArKaos, and I'll show you the third setup that we're going to use today. I'm going to edit video mapper, and this is a thing that I prepped already in advance. I'm going to quickly make a draft display, just the draft display is underneath here, to save all my my surfaces that we used for the example that I just showed you. And now we're going to use these surfaces that I already prepped. First of all, I'm going to show you what I have prepped by again opening a test pattern, and I'm going to open all the eyes because I quickly closed them. And this is a little bit more advanced setup than we had as previous, but it's based on the previous setup. So we're still on the same job, but the set designer was a little bit creative. And so we have the screen here, we have the center screen, and we have the screen here.
You can click on show all, so we see indeed.
So what we did here, I'm first going to move these screens to my physical output. This is a minor bug that he doesn't want to accept it every time. Sometimes from time to time you need to do it
one by one,
separately,
unfortunately, from the draft displays.
Yep. What we have here is a setup where we have a little bit of spacing in between the tiles. Whoa. I'm really sorry, I'm first moving.
Yeah. So basically the draft display that Leo creates, it's an option that you can easily enable when you have no screen available when you are preparing your show. you just hit draft display, which is the plus button that Leo is going to maybe show in a few seconds. Draft display, you can give any resolution to that draft display. So give the resolution that the actual output you are going to have on site. Okay, that's pretty important that your draft display fits actually the real display that you're gonna have, because the surface might be resized when you drag and drop. So right there, exactly.
This is the button to make
there
a
you
draft
can create
display.
draft display. Now you can see there is two draft display, one that got surface, one which is empty. At restart, empty draft display will disappear. Okay, you cannot delete draft display, but a draft display where there is no surface in it will be deleted automatically at restart. Okay, we don't delete draft display that contains surface because it can be that X2 is a screen which is not yet connected. We are on site. That screen is not yet connected. So once the screen is connected, Leo is going to drag the surface in the actual screen. For now, the screen is not there. So software guess you still want to keep that draft.
This is something I prepped at home. So I had the first draft display with the layers that we already used during this webinar. These layers I prepped at home, and now we're going to use these. So I have the same setup as we had in advance, meaning this is my first LED wall, this is my second, this is my third, and I made a creative setup. This one has squares, this one has banners, but the set designer was a little bit creative, and I wanted to put a cross, or they put some lights in between, or whatever. And so this is a bit of larger setup that I made. And what I made for this one is it's 1.1 mapped, 1.2 mapped, 1.3 mapped, 1.4. I should and could also make these in full, as I made these in
the
full.
preview setup, yeah.
Where we can have a copy from one to another. But just for this webinar, for explanation, I'm only going to use the mapped outputs. So the same as we had in advanced, because this is mapped, if we play content, and we have a line moving from up to down, every spacing and everything will be in the correct order as a physical output. So this is a setup that we're going to use. Let's say these are squares, maybe these are also squares or banners. This is just, again, a virtual setup. But because I'm wanting to use these, I don't have enough layers to handle it the same way as we just did. Meaning, I would say this is a first layer, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on and so on. Meaning that for one VJ layer, we need to use 9 ArKaos layers, and that is really a lot to use.
Yeah, because we have limited numbers of layers, which is 36. So, and you can create up to 200 surfaces on one setup.
So the setup that we will be using now is using surface control. So first of all, we will be still using the VJ layers, and one VJ layer will control these 4 surfaces. This will be a second ArKaos layer, and this will be the third VJ layer. I'm sorry, this one is locked, that's why I can't.
Yeah, it's pretend that's preventing you to make some boo-boo mistake.
So again, this will be 2.4, This will be one ArKaos layer, this will be. But to have some extra control, there's a new extra function in ArKaos, and it's down here. And it's the fixture index assignment of the
fixture control,
fixture control. So when you make a new layer, new surface, I'm sorry, this will be unchecked, this box. When we check the box, we can scroll down, and we can give the layer a number. This number is pretty important,
it's like
because
a fixture
we still
ID,
need to patch. We give it a fixture ID, as Benjamin just said.
So basically what you did by enabling that is that you enable DMX control of the surface directly. So Leo have patched some layers into the desk where he managed MediaMaster, the playback, but by patching, and he's going to show to patch that surface control directly, you will have direct DMX control of the surface itself. Basically, and that's the concept. Once you get the concept of surface control, what is needed for and how we design that, it's pretty obvious. A surface is like any DMX control of MediaMaster is based on fixture. So it's a fixture profile of 12 parameters. You have into those 12 parameters, you have an effect engine, RGB dedicated control. So control one, channel 1 will be effect engine. Channel 1, 2, 3, 4 are effect parameters of that effect engine, and then you have RGB control, 3 different parameters in DMX. You have also a color blend control and a dimmer value. So basically you can see a surface in the video mapper when you control it through DMX. It's like a basic LED fixture.
Yep.
With RGB, dimmers and effects. It's really designed like a light basically, so it will help you to control surface from your LED screen, surface from your projection, like you would control any basic light.
Yep. So we made all these surfaces. What we now need to do is we need to assign the surface to the fixture ID. So I'm going to take 1.1, it's this one. I'm giving it fixture index 1. This will be the second one, third one, fourth one. You can see the fixture index jumping here.
You can have several surfaces with the same fixture index.
Yeah.
It's basically like you would address moving head with the same DMX address. Yeah. So every surface that you enable a fixture control you will be able to move to DMX. If they have the same index, it's like they have the same fixture ID or the same DMX address, so they all react with the same control.
So as I just did, I gave them all up to number 9. We have the fixture indexes. This is something that you need to remember, because this is important while patching. Very important, this is a notification of ArKaos. Yep. The MX control of surfaces or outputs will only be operational if video mapper is closed.
Yes.
So if I'm patching this, if I'm setting up my fixture index and I already made the patch and I want to test from my console, it will not work because video mapper is still open.
Yeah, it's still open. So it's something that you have to remember as well. Video mapper is designed to be a tool where you align your surface, you do all the prep work, the geometry, the whatever. It's not made to run during the show, to be open during the show. So we have few customers, few users that does that. I do not advise to do that. I will advise you to always close the video mapper when you are done with it, because it will save you processing. That's very important.
This is why this is set up. So I'm going to close video mapper again, and we're again going to File, Preferences, and go to the DMX. This is something where we already prepped our 8 layers that we were using during this webinar, and here I already added 10 surfaces. I added 10 because while prepping this webinar I had 1 test surface, but I'm going to quickly show you. When we go to select fixtures, we can select the layer fixtures that we want, layer extended 1.1 or 1.0. These are what we're using, and then we also check surface fixtures and we say we want surface fixtures full 1.0. At the moment this is only 1, and we say we want 9 fixtures. We want 9 because these are the surfaces we only have. I made the 10th one just for testing. We say okay, and these are already patched accordingly to my Grand MA. This is auto-filled by the fixture index that you gave them in the video mapper.
So that's the name of the surface that you basically see there.
Meaning surface 1, so the one that is patched to surface controller 1 is 1.1 because I gave it fixture index 1 in the video mapper.
Yep.
I'll have a quick switch to Grand MA, and in Grand MA I already prepped these surfaces, and this is a surface control 1.0 and the same DMX addresses.
If the DMX profile is not in your library yet, I think on MA it is right now or not?
It is not yet implemented.
So you have several solutions. Either for MA you go on the MA share and you find it. There is also a version on our website. So if you go MediaMaster Pro, MediaMaster Pro, and you have it's okay, and you have a fixture setup. There you can find the fixture profile for several different desks that you can download from there. As well, if you simply go to a library to the library, to the user manual of your MediaMaster. In the documentation, you can find and I think it's a bit above surface. Yeah. You should have a lot of surface. I think it's 136. Yeah, here we go. So there you can see you have all fixture DMX chart of every fixture that we do have in MediaMaster. So master control, surface control, layer control, output control, everything is there. So if it's not there, you can create your own following the chart, or you can find that online at your desk manufacturer or on a website.
If you download for this GrandMA, if you download this zip file, all the fixtures that ArKaos use will be in there. Also all the layers, all the output controls, all the surfaces, and there you can find the one that we are using, the only one that you can use, Surface Full 1.0.
Yep.
I'm going to close the documentation. I'm going back to ArKaos where we have the 9 layers patched, and I'll switch to GrandMA. We also have 9 layers patched, and I just gave them a name just for my convenience. Yep. Yes. We close this, we go to our programming screen, and we go to base 3. This is the 3rd level that we're going to use. And again, what we have here, I made the same groups as we used previously. We have VJ1 and VJ2. These are the video layers that we're using. So again, to ArKaos, these are the layers that we're using here, and these are the layers that are here in the GUI where we can output the video. Underneath, in my grouping, I have surface 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and these are the surface layers that we're using, meaning these. These are just simple groupings. I didn't program anything yet with them, but I'm going to show you now what they will do. I say okay, we go back to the GUI, and if I now open up the same VJ layer and some content, this is the same as we previously.
You're not full screen, I think.
I am. From time to time we see a little flicker.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's check just the DMX patch because you have changed it just before.
Oh, full screen. Yeah, now we see them.
Yeah. I think maybe the dimmer value of your surface is not on because you changed the DMX patch. Because there it's playing but it doesn't output. 3001, and if you check in MediaMaster, yeah, it looks correct. Maybe that's the dimmer of the surface.
I will have a quick look. VJ1, screen 1 mapped, yeah. I think I know what it is.
Here we go. Surface dimmer.
Yeah. Output group 1. I didn't send it yet to the correct output. So what I now need to do is go back to my output management and just do a quick check.
If the groups are not...
If I go to screen 1 mapped, now I'm not only using the 1 layer, but I'm using the 4 layers. So 1.1 mapped, 1.2 mapped, 1.3, 1.4. Also the same when I'm using screen 2 mapped. I need to add these 4 because we're using 1 layer
plus the surface
for the 4 surfaces. So I'm just going to check that these are screen 1 mapped.
They are not selected in your group, huh?
They are. Now they are.
No, they are. Okay, good. Yeah.
I think, yeah, it is so.
yeah.
I'm going to store this with my content. So now again, we still have the same setup as we had. I'm going to show you with another content. This is the setup that we have at the moment, and still the same setup. At the left corner we have LED screens, in the center we have LED screens, and on the right top. But now these LED screens are divided by 4 different surfaces, left and right. The center is still the same, and this is where the surface control comes in advantage. If we have surface 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning the left bottom, I can go to the dimmer value of these and I put them to 0, and it will shut down my surface, not my layer, but my surface. So when you look at the GUI of ArKaos, you can see here, VJ1, the layer is still open, is still outputting video,
still playing,
as a video, and is still playing, but I'm only using my surfaces. I'm going back to GrandMA. My surfaces to do this, meaning I have a VJ layer that's deciding which content I'm playing, which color I'm using for the video, and to which surfaces I'm going, but I have an extra control on top of my surfaces. And this is where the cool part starts. At first, we had the dim VJ1, and when we do this effect, we can see the 3 layers going up and down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And this gives a dynamic effect on my complete set. But now, if I stop this effect, I can make the same effect, but I do it on my surfaces. So I take surface 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning the bottom left surfaces, and I make an effect out of these. And when I start this effect, you can see in the bottom left corner that I'm making an effect that is on top of my surfaces. When you look at the GUI, my VJ layer, my ArKaos layer is still just playing out the video. I just give it an extra thing on top, and I can also start combining these. So now, when I start the first effect, I play the ArKaos layer, and I'm making the surfaces. You see a very quick and dynamic field with just making 2 small effects out of it. So we're having the advantage that we had 10 minutes ago with the different layers, the different surfaces, and now we're just adding something on top of it.
What you could do is that you could have that effect over all surface and then save 2 layers, basically. You could have just layer 1 playing on all surface and then having the dimmer effect on all surface.
Could do, but then we don't have the effect that we organized with your
Yeah,
shake.
yeah, indeed.
And then we don't have the shake effect that we can start, or then we don't have the effect engine.
But basically, if you like to do a dim chase on that view, you can use layer 1 feeding all surface and then doing the dim chase in the surface directly, so you can save a lot of layers, because that was also important at the beginning.
What I now made, this is an all surface dim, so this is now dedicated to these 4 surfaces. I also made one with all my layers, and this gives an advantage that I can have a lot of surfaces, a lot of small squares. I can feed each LED panel with a different surface, meaning that it will cost me a lot of time in VideoMapper, and I need to patch everything, so it will cost me a lot of parameters, but I can send everything on a different surface and give a really quick dim effect that would cost me a lot of video layers. So this is an extra setup, an extra thing on top of everything to give me even more flexibility than we already had. The cool thing is, when we look at some of the layers, some of the surface layers, these has 12 channels, I'm sorry. This has a dimmer. I'm quickly choosing different content, just that you can see all the layers. This is the first one, and it has a dimmer. We can do it on and off. We can do it half, or we can also make something funky. And make something like this. We're using the same layer. This is only layer 1 using the bottom left screens, but we have the 2 layers that has a different color value. This doesn't only has a dimmer, this has only RGB. The RGB is an addition mode. This is when you want to go minus RGB and change your color, you need to do this on a layer level. When we have the RGB of the surface, we can only add things. So if I'm opening it full, we're going to 100, the surface will be completely white. When I have a little bit darker content, you can see the difference. This is, I'm sorry, this is full red. So my content is playing, and we're just adding a little bit of red to that content. Again, this is not ideal for color grading, but this is really cool. if you want to make chases and just go to white. So this is a full, a layer in full. I'm going to store it as a preset. And this is now white. So if we want to start making strobe effects, we can say surface 1 to white. Store here. Oh, excuse me, store. Then surface 2 to white. Store here, create second cube. 3 white. And 4 white. At the moment I'm only doing it for the bottom left bottom left surfaces, but you can go cray with it, and you can make whatever you want of it. I quickly make a chase, and I do a non-tracking chase. And if we open this, we can see that we just made a really quick chase, simple, easy, surface level. We don't need that much performance that we need a dedicated video layer for every surface, but we just made an extra generator. And if we would upgrade this one to really quick, I'm sorry, I'm going to multiply by 8, and we have now made a strobe effect. We do it in random, and we made a strobe effect on all layers with easy peasy. If we would like to do this without the surface control, this is also possible. And what you can do is you take a layer on top of everything. You go to your color, your video. You choose a video that is dedicated white. You open up the dimmer, and you make the video. You make a strobe out of it. I made this effect in here. So what this does, this is not on top of everything. That's why. Also,
yeah, it's not going to the same. Yep.
no. So
That's
this can be
correct.
here. It's because it's going to the all screens mapped, but I'm not using the all screens map, or my surfaces aren't in the all screens map. So that is a way of programming a strobe,
But
meaning that you're using
a layer
a
just for
layer.
that, yeah.
only for that. Again, you can't fade in or out because you're you can only switch surfaces and snap from one surface to another. So if we would do this on a surface level, on a surface control level, I would take these 4, I would make a new effect.
Can maybe do with a color.
Yeah.
Color effect, color rainbow.
No can do.
No can do.
No
No,
can do.
no color rainbow.
So what we now made is an RGB effect on all the on the 4 surfaces. I can also make this on all the surfaces. So I selected all 9 surfaces. I went here, take selection, and I run this effect on all of them.
Yeah. Basically, it's using the engine effect of the light desk. So it's pretty quick for you to update that effect, to link that to maybe, let's say that you launch a similar effect, dimmer chase, white chase on some lights that you have in your rig. You can apply that same effect with the same speed and the same intensity to the surface directly. So it's for you, it's much more flexible to adapt those effects to light, to video very quickly. Also to change maybe the color of that effect that could be done much more, very fast comparing if you were using, I think, one layer with a white PNG and so on.
Again, this is using not so much performance as using a video layer.
I know it's
So this
using,
This is easy peasy for an ArKaos, just adding white and not playing a video or doing whatever. Now we also have the advantage, as you can see, we can pop in the video and fade out the white.
Yeah, you have a pulse,
yeah.
something like that, which is for me looks better. Yeah,
Yep.
that looks better.
You also have a strobe effect in the effect engine, but then again, you can't add other effects
Yeah.
like these.
Yeah, you can combine.
You can't combine, and when you're programming with an ArKaos, try to keep your effect engine clear, not because of performance of but just to give yourself the advantage of keeping it aside for the creative part and solving different things with other parameters. So this is a quick way of making some white flashes. And an extra feature that the layers have is a fill mode. So if I take surface surface.
So surface have 3 DMX parameters dedicated for RGB, so that's why Leo could add a white. He had a full RGB, but you have also a color blend. So basically it's how do you add colors into your surface. And now you are using, I think, the default one, which is addition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you will add RGB to your content, but there is 5. Yeah, there is that amount of colors blending, and one which is very interesting. It's the fill.
Oh.
The fill, or
yes.
we can go through all of those, but you have an addition of colors, subtractions.
Yeah. I'm going to clear again just to show you the basic. I'm going to beam and color blend mode, and as Benjamin just told us, you have an addition, so we're adding red, green or blue. You can subtract it, or you can do a fill. And a fill meaning every pixel where there is no video, or where we have an alpha channel, we will fill
will be filled with the color value that you send.
So now I'm using a fill and red.
Yeah. So
but because my content that is playing is a full screen content, this will only start playing when I close the content, and meaning that we have some sort of back LED bar, and when I take away the content, it will start filling. What I also can do, I take my VJ layer and I go to my position and I put it a little bit to the back. You can see that the corners around it won't have video, so there we will start filling it in any color I want. So I again take all the surfaces and maybe like a little bit more yellow.
Colors plus effect. It's basically you have an RGB very basic. The first RGB parkens that we used to have where you had 3 LEDs, RGB, and you just have to give intensity to those 3 LEDs. That's basically what you have in the background, which is look very simple, but it's easy to use. And any small or big lighting desk can have some nice colorful effect with that.
So this is, now we see at the borders that this one has no video because I made the video a little bit smaller. But let's say that we have a video with an alpha channel that I have here. There is no video. I will take away the surfaces just to show you.
That's the dimmer of the surface.
I will clear everything. Now we can see that VJ1, 2 and 3 is playing a video with alpha channel.
So that video is, for instance, ProRes 444. So it's a codec that allowed you to have an alpha channel. A PNG will have also an alpha channel, or HAP alpha we also allowed you to have an alpha channel. There is also one which is not very well known but very nice, is QuickTime animation. QuickTime animation allowed you as well to have transparency in your content.
So what we now have, when we set it to fill, what I already made here in the button, it will start filling everything that has no video. So because this has an alpha channel, you can see through the video. And now if we open it, you can see that the surfaces will start filling everything at the end. Let's say because it's flames, we can make it orange, and we have an effect like this.
And that color of chase can be also in your light pretty easily with the same value, because we can, maybe you were supposed to show it a bit later on the other view.
I was. Thank you, Benjamin. already giving away all my products.
Oh yeah, sorry.
So I'm going to a layout view, and this is where I made the surfaces. It's 11, 12, 13, 14. These are fixture IDs that I gave the GrandMA. So these are the 4 surfaces there. This is the center surface, 16, 17, 19. And here I just patched 3 super easy LED parkens. And maybe they are physically around. These are LED strips or whatever. And if we put them like this, I have no... And we now... I first make a small chase and I say, I want the first one, first LED par to red. And we store it. We want the second LED par we need to open the dimmer, put them to red, store, create second queue, and we want the third LED bar open and to red. What we now did, we made a very simple chase. Oh, I'm sorry. Assign non-tracking chaser. What we now did, we made a really easy chase. 1, 2, 3, red. 1, 2, 3, red. And this is cool. My client is really happy with it. Maybe we can do it a little bit faster, or we link it to a SpeedMaster. And this is a chase that we have. But now we wanna advance our programming, and we say, oh, we want all the videos that are the LED strip. We want them also to enhance the setup. So we take fill and we put them in red, and we do store Q1, putting it in here, and we do a merge, meaning the content that we already had in the queue, we're going to add it. This is programming GrandMA. We're going to do this one in fill and also make it red. Store Q2, there, merge, and then take the last 4, put it in fill in red. Store Q3, put it in there, merge. And now we made really easy, really simple. These are physical LED bars outputting DMX, and this is video that is outputting via ArKaos. And we made a really quick chase just by selecting these, and these, and we started combining it. It can be a sun strip or a blinder or an atomic or whatever that you can choose. If we have an atomic here, and we program the atomic in burst, and we take these 4 surfaces and we program them in full white, we can have a really quick setup. We can have a dynamic set that is always,
when you strobe the light, you strobe the LED screen,
yes,
and things like that. Yeah.
And I think that this was it.
Yeah, that's pretty it. So thank you very much, Leo. I'm gonna have a quick look. I had already a quick look in the chat. If you have any questions and you like to know more about the surface control, and that Leo can share a bit his knowledge again. Can see a lot of friends in the chat. Hello everybody. If you have any questions, that's no never. We're gonna wait a few seconds. Maybe what we can show is the surface blend.
Yeah.
Is that
That's not possible at the moment because we don't have surfaces on top of each other.
okay?
I can show you, but then I have to make a quick
Quick
adjustment.
patch, yeah.
Yes. So I go to MediaMaster.
Maybe you change the index of one of the surface. Yeah. So there, that was one of the important parameters of the surface control, is that you have an effect engine with some effect and effect control, pure color control. That's what we just saw with color blending. But you also have a surface blend mode. So basically, two surfaces on top of each other blend together. So by default, if you put two surfaces on top of each other right now, a surface where there is no content will be transparent. So if you like to do a quick picture-in-picture, as I saw in some previous live, that's pretty easy. But the default blending between surface will be a mix, I think. But you can change that to addition, subtractions through DMX. Yeah.
I will quickly show everybody. So we're going to ignore all these surfaces, and we have center full surface and center mapped. This is a surface that we previously used, and because this structure is also something important in ArKaos, when I send something to center mapped in default without using the fixture control, this one will just be on top of center full. They have the same output value. In here they will go to the same LED wall or the same projector, so they're outputting exactly the same. But if I would put content on this one, it won't, although the layer is an addition, it won't blend with the surface underneath unless we do something with the surface control. So just to make everything easy, I will quickly switch off these. Or no, I just take this one, number 1, and delete it. and number 2.
I think that surface, it's a bit, it's the input part which is a bit outside, I think. No, it's not that one.
No.
Yeah, okay, it's good. Yeah.
I'll give center full surface number 1. Then I don't need to do any repatching. I can't. I can change it. Number 1, and this one number 2.
Yeah,
Number
it's
2,
by
this
default.
is okay. I'm going to close it again, and I'll do everything off in GrandMA. Then we just start from something clear again. I go to base 1, I do VJ1, and I open up the layer, and I send it to center mapped with this content. I quickly go to page plus, meaning we have a clean page. This one including, this is a simple executor, including all this information where I just opened up the layer, gave it the gobo, and I send it to center mapped output. The VJ layer 2 going to open up, and when I send it to the same surface, I'm going to choose different content. If I send it to the same surface and I change it to addition, this mode will add on top of the on top of it. But if I store it, if I would like to change and go VJ2, not to center map but to center full, I need this one. You can see, although this layer is in addition, it won't do anything. If I close this layer, you can see it because this one is on top of it. Number 1 is on the top surface in the video mapper.
Yeah, indeed.
It doesn't matter what I do with layer 2. I can open up as much as I want. It won't be addition. Only when
so
I
they
send
basically go to different outputs that don't have, they have an interaction between each other there.
So if I do it on the same surface, they can have an addition. They have a communication with each
blend,
other.
they
and a
blend.
blend. If I send it to another one, layer 2 will disappear because layer 1 is on top of it.
If you dim down now layer 1, that will empty the surface which is on top of the I don't know what's the name of the surface that you have below.
That's because that one.
You have that one in addition. Should be in replace.
In replace. No.
Maybe the surface blend. Yeah, now you have it.
Now I have it because it's on the same surface. I will take this one and send it to the other one. So one is going to surface 1, surface index 1. The other one is going to 2. So if I take the surface control and I take these two and I go to beam, I can scroll through this. We had the color blend mode that we can choose the fill. We have color blend intensity. Also, it's like a dimmer value or a master of your color info that you are using. Or we can have the surface blend mode. And now, if we take blend, it should work.
What's going on there? Because that copy mode again is in addition. Should be, you see, the layer blend is in addition of surface 1, of layer 1. Should be had, and Can you just dim down that layer? Yeah, just to 0 so we can check, but I think, yeah, you don't have any output on the surface below.
Ah, I don't, it's to center full. Ah, I think, okay. Output management, center full, I need to have.
Yep, now you have it, okay. Here we go.
Excuse us guys, excuse us.
That's output management,
Yeah.
basic output management.
So now we have the same communication as we have in between layers, we have it between different surfaces. So if I would take these and I would change it, you see that although these are on different surfaces, the layers are still interacting with each other, and we can have the same advantage as we had before on the same communication, the same behavior between video layers as in surface layers.
Indeed. Good. Anything
I
else?
think it's good. Excuse us guys for the confusion, but because this was not prepared, we lost a little bit of.
That was okay. That came good. Okay, I think that's pretty hit. Few questions in the chat, but already reply there. So if you have any questions in the meantime, so next week we have another live. This one on GrandVJ. It will be pixel mapping, CleanNet and ArtNet. We had the same one 2 weeks ago on MediaMaster. So every live that we are doing every week, you can find those on our YouTube channel. If you tap ArKaos there, you have all the live that we have registered those past week, as well all the tutorials. So if you missed one of the live, you can just watch it again on YouTube. Thank you for being there. Thank you for watching us, and I see you all next week. Bye bye.